let's talk about simplifying rational expressions. Now, rational expressions you can think of those as being fractions. And so we're going to work on simplifying them. But I'm going to take you back, way back to like elementary school, whenever you had to simplify something like 10 over 12 without a calculator, because that skill is something you're going to need to apply something. The same skills that you use to simplify 10 over 12 are the same skills you'll use to simplify this algebraic expression. So let me show you. Now, when you simplify 10 over 12, you were probably like, oh, I can divide the top by 2, I can divide the bottom by 2, and that would simplify to 5 over 6. Great. That's a great way to do this. However, there's another way that you can simplify rational expressions, and that idea is the one that we're going to use for algebra. All right, so the way that we're going to simplify this, I can write 10, I can factor 10 as 2 times 5. So 10 factors into 2 times 5. Well, 12, I can factor that into 2 times 6. Oh, look, 2 times 5 over 2 times 6. Well, 2 divided by 2, and notice they're being separated by multiplication symbols. So, and multiplication and division in the order of operations you can do at the same time. So, well, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and that leaves me with 5 over 6. So notice here we factored the numerator and the denominator. That's what we did first. We factored the numerator and denominator. I'm going to call that step 1. Step 2, when I divided these two out, that's called dividing out common factors. So we will divide out any common factors. And these are the two steps we will use to simplify an algebraic expression the same way. It's just going to look a little more complicated because it's got algebra in there. All right, so the first thing I need to do is I need to factor the numerator and the denominator. So I'm going to factor x squared plus 3x minus 28. Okay, let's see. To get x squared, I need an x times an x. To get 28, I could do a 7 and 4. So then x plus 7 times x minus 4. Let me double check my factoring. X times x would be x squared. Then I would have a 7x minus 4x, which would be 3x. And 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. So I factor the numerator. Done. Now I'm going to factor the denominator. To get x squared, I'll multiply an x times an x. To get 40, let's see, factors of 40 are 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 3, 4 times 10. Looks like I might want to use 4 and 10 because I want to be able to combine 4 and 10 to get a 6. So 4 and 10. And let's see if I keep the 10 positive and the 4 negative. Then I'm double checking my factoring. X times x is x squared. Minus 4x plus 10x would combine to give me positive 6x and minus 40. All right, so I have factored the numerator and I factored the denominator. Check. Now I'm going to divide out any common factors. Now factors are separated by multiplication. Separated by multiplication. So I'm going to look and see if there's anything that's separated by multiplication that's in common. Look, x minus 4, x minus 4. Those are the same. I can divide them out, and this whole thing will simplify to, because the x minus 4 divided by x minus 4, those cancel out or divide out and equal 1. So this, I'm just left with x plus 7 over x plus 10. And that's the simplified expression. So look, all of this turned into x plus 7 over x plus 10. Doesn't that look more simple? All right, we'll do a couple of these examples. All right, so then here's a similar example. So I'm going to factor the numerator. To get x squared, I'll use an x and an x. To get 80, I could do an 8 and a 10. And if they're both negative, they'll combine to be negative 18. Then in the denominator, factor the denominator. To get x squared, I'll multiply x times x. To get 60, I could do 6 times 10 to be 60. And if they're both negative, they'll combine to be negative 16. So I factored the numerator, factor the denominator. Now I'm going to look and see if there's any factors in common. X minus 10, x minus 10. Those are common factors. So x minus 10 divided by x minus 10 is 1. So that means I'm left with x minus 8 over x minus 6. Done. Now, let me tell you this. Here's a warning. Warning, warning. Every time, every year I teach this, I'll always have a student who wants to see, oh, there's an x and there's an x. Those cancel. Hold on a minute. Remember what I said? Common factors are separated by multiplication. So on this x and that 8, those are separated by subtraction, not multiplication. So you cannot divide out those x's because they're not separated by multiplication. So just be aware right there. So this is as far as it will simplify. All right, one more of these. So which one looks better? Let's do the top one because there's only one term up here. Now there is only one term up here, so that makes me think, maybe, I don't know what's going on with the top. So for right now, I'm just going to leave the top as 6x squared. The denominator, there's only two terms. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a greatest common factor. So what is a greatest common factor between 24 and 192? So I'm grabbing my calculator. Will 24 divide into 192? Yes, it will. So 24, let's see, greatest common factor of both of them would be 24. First one has an x squared, the second one has an x, so they both at least have a 24x. So I'll put 24x outside a set of parentheses. 24x squared divided by 24x is x. 192x divided by 24x is 8, so minus 8. So now I think, I don't really see any factors in common, but I see a 6, and I know that 6 is a factor of 24. So what I can do is I can factor the denominator a little further, so 6x squared over 24 is the same as 6 times 4x times x minus 8. Now I'm going to look for common factors. I have a 6, and you see how the 6 is being multiplied by the x squared? That means I can divide it out because it's a factor. It's being multiplied in 6. So I can divide out these two 6's. Do they have any other factors in common? Well, if I take this x squared, I know that x squared is the same as x times x. So I could divide out this x factor and that x factor. And now I don't think I have anything in the numerator or denominator that are common factors. So the numerator will just be x. Denominator will be x times x, or 4 times x minus 8. And that concludes our video on how to simplify rational expressions.